You believe you are seeing the world as it really is. But what if you have never seen reality? Not even for a single second. It seems absurd. However, that is exactly what modern neuroscience suggests. Right now, everything you call reality happens inside your head, not outside of it.
The light comes
Tonight,
on.
when the sun sets, you will flip a switch. The light comes on. It seems like a simple event, but your brain does not see electricity.
It does not see photons. It does not see objects. It only receives electrical signals produced by your eyes. And from those signals, it builds an interpretation. A hypothesis. An extremely convincing simulation. That is where you live. Neuroscientist Anil Seth summarizes this idea in a disturbing phrase. We do not perceive the world. We hallucinate it in a controlled way. The word hallucination usually scares people, but in this context it means something else. The brain constantly predicts what it believes exists. Then it compares that prediction with the signals it receives. When everything matches, you have the sensation of seeing reality. In reality, you are just confirming a prediction. The world you experience is an extremely sophisticated bet made by your nervous system, and it usually gets it right, but not always. Optical illusions demonstrate this perfectly. A still image seems to move. Two identical lines seem different. A color changes just because the background changed. Your eyes work fine. It is your brain that completes the information. Now ask yourself a question. If it can deceive you so easily with an image, how do you know it doesn't do exactly the same thing every day? For centuries it was believed that the senses worked like cameras. First they observed, then the brain analyzed. Today, we know that almost the opposite happens. First the brain creates a model, then it looks for evidence to confirm it. Psychologist Richard Gregory was one of the researchers who showed how perception depends on expectations accumulated throughout life. What you expect influences what you see, and this does not only happen with objects. It happens with people, with memories, with emotions, even with yourself. Two identical lines seem different. A color changes just because the background changed. Your eyes work fine. It is your brain that completes the information. Now ask yourself a question. If it can deceive you so easily with an image, how do you know it doesn't do exactly the same thing every day? For centuries it was believed that the senses worked like cameras. First they observed, then the brain analyzed. Today, we know that almost the opposite happens. First the brain creates a model, then it looks for evidence to confirm it. Psychologist Richard Gregory was one of the researchers who showed how perception depends on expectations accumulated throughout life. What you expect influences what you see. And this does not only happen with objects. It happens with people, with memories, with emotions, even with yourself. Perhaps you think you know perfectly well who you are. But that feeling may also be a construction. Neurologist Anil Seth demonstrated that what we call self results from the continuous integration between body, emotions, and brain activity. There is no little observer sitting inside your head. There is only a permanent process. A narrative, a story that the brain tells about itself. And it believes it. You too. Approximately 1 in every 10 human beings is left-handed. And this proportion has remained stable for at least 500,000 years. This fact seems to have no relation to the topic. But it does. It shows that many deeply human characteristics remain stable for hundreds of thousands of years. While others change constantly. Like the way we interpret what we see. Your beliefs literally alter your perception. Experiments conducted at Yale University showed that different expectations can modify physical sensations such as temperature, taste, and pain. Not because the world changed, but because the brain changed first. Think for a moment. When you taste an expensive food, does it taste better because it really is better, or because you expect it to be? When a person seems friendly, is it because she is friendly, or because your brain decided to trust even before meeting her? How much of your life is observation, and how much is prediction? There is a phenomenon known as inattentional blindness. In a famous study by Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabris, participants watched people throwing a ball. They were so focused on the task that half of them did not notice a person dressed as a gorilla walking through the entire scene. The gorilla was always there, but it never existed for those brains. This means something uncomfortable. Reality is not just what exists. It is what your brain allows to exist. Everything else disappears without you noticing. Now imagine this applied to your entire day. How many opportunities have you never seen? How many dangers have you ignored? How many people have passed by you without you really seeing them? Perhaps the world is much larger than what you can experience, and perhaps it always has been. We invented sunscreen because our own sun is trying to kill us. It is a curious phrase, but it reminds us of an important truth. Evolution never tried to show you reality. It tried to keep you alive. These two goals are not the same. If perceiving fewer details increases the chances of survival, then the brain eliminates those details. If exaggerating a danger helps you run away faster, then it exaggerates. Natural selection favored efficient organisms, not perfectly objective organisms. Scientist Donald Hoffman took this idea even further. According to his hypothesis, evolution did not select brains that see reality. It selected brains that make useful decisions. In the same way that icons on a computer desktop do not show the internal workings of the machine. What you see may also be just an interface. Simple, practical, but profoundly incomplete. And then an inevitable question arises. If we all live inside an interface, what exists behind it? Nobody knows. Not even physics, not even philosophy, not even neuroscience. Even quantum mechanics raises questions about the role of the observer in the description of the physical world. Although this does not mean that consciousness creates reality, it shows that the relationship between observing and existing is more complex than it seemed. Perhaps we can never completely leave our own mind. Because any attempt to observe reality will always be done through it. It is like trying to look directly at your own eyes without using a mirror. Every thought you have, every memory, every emotion, every certainty, everything passes through the same filter. Your brain. And if the filter can never be turned off, how to distinguish what the world really is from what it only seems to be? Perhaps you never will. Perhaps nobody can. And perhaps the most important question was never, what is reality like? But another one. Who are you without the story your brain tells every day? When that question stops seeming impossible. Reality may no longer be exactly the same.